and welcome back to my vlog. Tea Leaves by Francis S. Drake, part 22, possibly the last part. I don't know, I'll think about it. This is the last of the narrative sort of thing, and it's got a list of a number of members of the Tea Party, which I won't read, but I'm going to skip after that to one of the things from Letters and Documents, and maybe I'll have some more letters and documents later. I'll decide. These varying estimates may be accounted for in this way. Those who report the smaller number either repeated what they were told or saw only one of the parties on its way to the ships, while the others speak of the entire body after its separate parts had united at the wharf. Some may mean only such of the party as were in Indian dress. If we place the number on board the ships at 50 or 60, and estimate those at work by the sides of the vessels at 60 or 70, we shall probably not be far out of the way. The whole number then aggregating from 110 to 130. The names of more than 100 of these have been preserved. Who were these men? Depend on it, said John Adams to Hezekiah Niles in 1819, these were no ordinary Mohawks. The profound secrecy in which they have held their names and the total abstinence of plunder are proofs of the character of the men. But two of the recognized leaders of the people were there, Dr. Young and Thomas Molyneux. Most of them were mechanics and apprentices, but they were mechanics of the stamp of Revere, Howard, Wheeler, Crane, and Peck, men who could restrain and keep in due subordination the more fiery and dangerous element. All was present in popular demonstrations. That element was not wholly absent on this occasion, for McIntosh, the leader in the Stamp Act riots, was present with his chickens, as he called them, and active in destroying the tea. There were also professional men like Dr. Young and Dr. Story, and merchants such as Molyneux, Proctor, Melville, Palmer, May, Pitts, and Davis, men of high character and standing, so that all classes were fairly represented. As might be expected, those appointed for the work and who were in Indian dress were largely men of family and position in Boston. A writer in the American Magazine of History attempts to discredit the statement that the party were in Indian dress, intimating that it was an afterthought intended to deceive the authorities and lead them to the belief that the disguise was too complete to allow of identification for arrest or punishment. Cavils like this are superfluous in view of the abundant testimony to the contrary. The sworn protest of Captain Bruce of the Eleanor, one of the tea ships, given on a subsequent page in this volume, is of itself sufficient evidence upon this point. The number of those who, prepared as they were on the spur of the moment, really bore any very great resemblance to Indians was no doubt small. A large number of the actors hastily assumed such disguises as were nearest at hand. No doubt the principals in this transaction pledged one another to keep their connection with it a profound secret, and they did so. But the young apprentices and volunteers who, without premeditation, joined the party on its way to the wharf were under no such restraint, and we can only wonder that they made no revelations concerning an event of such importance. It was not until a very late period of their lives that any of them opened their lips publicly about it, and when more than a half-century had elapsed since it occurred. The names of 58 of these men given below are taken from Thatcher's Traits of the Tea Party, published in 1835, while 9 or 10 of them were yet living, the source whence all later lists have been derived. Possibly this list is identical with that mentioned as having once been in the possession of Peter, the son of Benjamin Eddies, the printer. Of this list, it is safe to say that, while far from being complete, it is correct as far as it goes. The names that follow the list of 1835 have been gleaned from a great variety of sources, principally family tradition. List of the Tea Party, furnished in 1835 by an aged Bostonian, well acquainted with the subject, of the persons generally supposed within his knowledge to have been more or less actively engaged. Those starred were then living. I'll probably just paste that in below so you can take a look. Now a little bit from Documents and Letters to round this today's out. John Hancock's reply to Washington's letter to Congress recommending the bombardment of the town of Boston. It is true, sir, nearly all the property I have in the world is in houses and other real estate in Boston. But if the expulsion of the British Army from it and the liberties of our country require their being burnt to ashes, issue the order for the purpose immediately. Hancock was pretty serious. Proceedings of the inhabitants of the town of Boston on the 5th and 6th November, 1773. Referred to by Messrs. Richard Clark and Sons and Benjamin Faneuil, Jr. in their above-mentioned letters from the newspapers enclosed. From the Massachusetts Gazette of Thursday, November 11th, 1773. The following notification was issued on Thursday last. The freeholders and other inhabitants of the town of Boston, qualified as the law directs, are hereby notified to meet at Faneuil Hall on Friday, the 5th day of November instant, at 10 o'clock in the afternoon, then and there to consider the petition of a number of the inhabitants, setting forth that they are justly alarmed at the report that the East India Company in London are about shipping a cargo or cargoes of tea into this and the other colonies, and that they esteem it a political plan of the British administration, whereby they have reason to fear not only the trade upon which they depend for subsistence is threatened to be totally destroyed, but what is much more than anything in life to be dreaded, the tribute laid on the foundation of that article will be fixed and established, and our liberties, for which we have long struggled, will be lost to them and their posterity. And therefore praying that a meeting of the freeholders and other inhabitants may be immediately called, that so the sense of the matter be taken and such steps be pursued as to their safety and well-being shall appertain. By order of the select men, William Cooper, Town Clerk. Like I say, I'm not sure if I'll have any more of that. I've found it quite interesting. Make it a great day and a great weekend. And bye for now.